Despite its lack of rationale, superstition is something that creeps its way into the thick of things, and the world of sports is no exception to it. While athletes spend years honing their skills, they still don't abandon small pregame rituals that they believe might serve as the harbingers of luck. From horrific howls to being slapped by a sibling right before a fight, here are some of the strangest pre-fight rituals that fighters perform. First up, we have Diego Sanchez's Yes. Diego is widely known as one of the UFC's most eccentric fighters. Since his UFC debut in 2005, the Nightmare has shocked fans with his bizarre behavior. And some of his strangest moments include walking to the octagon while carrying a large cross as if he were a vampire hunter, and doing yoga during a thunderstorm. But Sanchez is mostly known for what is arguably the most memorable pre-fight ritual in UFC history. He started his fight with Joe Stevenson at UFC 95, walking into the octagon, fist-pumping, shouting yes at the top of his lungs. The ritual became popular among UFC fans, and while it was weird, it only added to Sanchez's cult appeal. Because of its popularity, it was eventually co-opted by WWE superstar Daniel Bryan, who took it to a new level during his 2014 peak. Of course, Sanchez didn't start yelling yes chants out of nowhere. The Nightmare was inspired by self-help guru Tony Robbins, who, in his best-selling book Unlimited Power, suggests that the ritual can help an individual achieve the most positive mindset possible. Yes. It's questionable whether this is the case, but it certainly worked for Sanchez, who remains a fan favorite among longtime UFC fans. But Sanchez's yes isn't as bizarre as Tai Tuivasa's Shui. Many UFC fighters celebrate their victories in unusual ways, be it acrobatics, dancing, or leaping into the crowd. But the Australian heavyweight Tai Tuivasa raises the stakes each time he wins in the UFC. Bam Bam is famous for his post-fight ritual known as the Shui. For those who don't know what that is, a Shui is the act of drinking a beer directly from a shoe, usually one that's been worn by a fan in attendance. Gross. The Shui is apparently a sort of Australian tradition, and even though many Australian fighters have entered the octagon over the years, this stomach-churning post-fight ritual had never been seen in the UFC before Tuivasa's debut in 2017. And to make matters even stranger, Bam Bam reportedly offered to drink a Shui of another kind after his victory over Andrei Arlovski at UFC 225, the one made of urine rather than beer. Truly nasty. Next up, it's Conor McGregor's billionaire strut. UFC superstar Conor McGregor's pre-fight entrance was already one of the most captivating, thanks to his use of the traditional Irish song, The Foggy Dew. But ahead of his fight against Eddie Alvarez at UFC 205, the Notorious One took things to the next level with a new pre-fight ritual stolen directly from WWE Chairman Vince McMahon. McGregor debuted the billionaire strut, walking around the octagon swinging his arms goofily just like McMahon would when entering the WWE ring. Unsurprisingly, the strut took off once McGregor started doing it, with fans and other athletes, including footballers Sergio Ramos and Paul Pogba, gradually imitating it. And speaking of WWE, how can we forget John Cena's knock on wood? Throughout his magnificent career, the legendary John Cena had his own share of strange pre-fight rituals, such as eating Tic Tacs to feel stronger, drinking water from other people's bottles, or loosening and tightening his belt. But there was one ritual that he always did before matches. The doctor of thugonomics used to knock on wood before going into the ring. He's clearly one of those superstitious people, so he took it very seriously and quite literally. Well, we can say that it worked cause luck was always on his side, if luck exists in wrestling, that is. Up next, Dos Santos Point. Similar to a silent war cry, Junior Dos Santos' face changes into a stiff, grim expression that's enough to send shivers down the opponent's spine. The haunting monstrosity with which Junior Dos Santos performs his pre-bout ritual is a terrifying experience. The ritual's origins could be attributed to the Nogueira brothers, who did it with equal zeal, but whatever it is undeniably a sign to the opponent that he's going down and out. And not to forget Quentin Jackson's blood-curdling howl. While Junior Dos Santos' war cry was more on the silent side, Quentin Jackson, also known as Rampage, had a bizarre war cry that precedes his ring exploits. Before fighting in the octagon, Jackson performs sort of an ode to werewolves. He throws back his head and lets out shrill werewolf howls, possibly indicating the impending doom that awaits his opponents. Or has Quentin Jackson sworn allegiance to the Wolfpack? Whatever it is, it's definitely not something you'd want to experience in the ring with your opponent. A great psychological trick to scare the daylights out of your foes. But not everyone's howling and scaring opponents. Some like to have fun too. Take Castillo, for example. He thoroughly enjoyed Fight Week. Not only did he get to step inside the steel cage and punch people in the face, but he also got to enjoy Las Vegas' bright lights and seedy alleyways. So much so that he convinced his girlfriend that his lucky charm superstition was going to the strippers before every fight. Danny, are you sure it was only during Fight Week? Gotta give him credit for the commitment, though. Some fighters will go to great lengths to keep their competitive edge, even if it means undergoing a weight cut while performing a lap dance. And as one would expect, neither his relationship nor his winning streak lasted. Castillo retired from the UFC in 2015 after losing 5 of his last 6 fights. And then we have Clay Guida's slaps. It probably goes without saying that in order to be successful in the UFC, a fighter should avoid getting hit. Surprisingly, one fighter decided to introduce a bizarre pre-fight ritual in which he would be slapped in the face, fairly hard, it must be said, by his own cornerman, including his brother. The fighter? The lightweight veteran Clay Guida. According to a 2010 interview, Guida began using the ritual while fighting on the regional circuit before joining the UFC in 2006. He claimed he got slapped to get in the right frame of mind and that no fighter he'd ever faced in the UFC had ever hit him as hard as his brother Jason before a fight. Given that Guida's UFC opponents have been the likes of Anthony Pettis, Chad Mendez, and Charles Oliveira, quite how true that statement is would definitely be up for debate. But with 36 UFC fights under his belt, it's safe to say that this strange ritual clearly works for the Carpenter. Next, we have some serious nipple pinching. Greg Jackson's MMA team was one of the most successful in the mid-2000s, with a number of UFC champions fighting out of the camp. While fighters like Rashad Evans and Georges St. Pierre had a lot of success in the octagon, the team also pioneered one of the strangest pre-fight rituals in UFC history. Basically, a number of fighters representing Jackson, including GSP, Evans, Keith Jardine, and Nate Marquardt, would tweak their nipples right before their fights began. This ritual baffled UFC fans at the time who couldn't understand why Jackson's fighters would do such a strange thing. GSP later clarified things, saying in an interview that the ritual would help to disconnect from any pre-fight stress, at least for a moment. And clearly, the ritual worked for the Canadian, who is still widely regarded as the greatest fighter in UFC history. And finally, it's Thompson's no shower days. Josh Thompson's refusal to shower and bathe in the days leading up to a fight was a rather unsanitary practice masquerading as a pre-fight ritual that Thompson passed off as a superstition. Thompson's non-bathing saga began in 2004 when he beat Hermes Franca at UFC 46 and went on pretty strong, in terms of odor too, till 2020 when he announced his retirement. We're pretty sure you're grossed out at this point, so let's take a look at some other related news. Starting off with Beneil Dariush versus Mateusz Gamrot, all set for UFC 280. The latest addition to UFC 280 is a potential #1 contender match. On the October 22nd card, top-ranked lightweights Beneil Dariush and Mateusz Gamrot will square off in a crucial bout. MMA Fighting confirmed the booking just recently following an initial report by ESPN. Dariush is currently ranked 5th among lightweights in the world by MMA Fighting, while Gamrot is ranked 8th. Meanwhile, UFC 279 adds Ion Cutelaba versus Johnny Walker. UFC 279 will feature a fight between 2 light heavyweight finishers. Ion Cutelaba and Johnny Walker are all set to square off on September 10th at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. But the promotion has yet to make an official announcement. It was Walker who announced the booking on his YouTube channel first. Finally, Conor McGregor is all clear for MMA training. McGregor, who hasn't fought since losing back-to-back fights to American Dustin Poirier, has finally received the all clear for MMA training and is looking great ahead of his expected return to the UFC, according to his head coach, John Kavanagh. Seeing him look stronger than ever, we think he's likely considering a bout at a higher weight class, like welterweight rather than lightweight. Whatever it is, we can't wait to see him fight again. And that's a wrap for this video. What's the most bizarre pre-fight ritual out of these? Comment below and let us know. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more. See you in the next one.